It's time to look at the waiver wire. Who's been added? Is it right? Who's been dropped? Is that right? Who should we add? Who shouldn't we add? What are the names that are buzzing around? Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I've done miracles on you. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com and sign up to your favorite team's best newsletter. All the news about that team in the old letter. That's why they call it a newsletter. You can double bang this one as well. Give it a thumb and leave your comments down below. All right, let's talk waiver wire. And what I did today, which I haven't, similar format show, nothing really changing that much. But when I'm preparing this show, I put out a tweet, a Blue Sky, whatever, however you want to phrase it, say, hey, who do you want to hear about on the waiver wire show? So there was a lot of names which I'd already prepared and covered, and that's interesting. But a lot of people were very interested in sort of, hey, what about this one-day situation? Which I call to those people. I do a one-day streaming show every single day. So I will talk about it, but the idea of this show is not necessarily like, what do I do for this one thing that's got a 1 hour window to do? I will mention that stuff, but this is more sort of a longer ranging thing. But I do have an everyday streaming sort of a situation show that we can talk about. Let's get into it. One quick thing before we get into this, and this is, I hope that this guy is not on your waiver wire, but Isaiah Hartenstein is coming back. He's listed questionable for today. Now, the Thunder don't play again after Wednesday. We know they've got an incredibly insane schedule. That does not matter. If Hartenstein doesn't play today, don't worry about it. Add him. This is as no-brainer a decision as you get. If somehow you're able to trip over your dick and grab him, you talk about winning a league, this is it. This is how you do it. I don't know why he would be on your waiver wire, but I don't care. He has to be added. Even you get zeros for the rest of the week. It doesn't matter. He has to be added. Isaiah Hartenstein is coming back. He is returning. Maybe today, maybe next week. I don't care. It has to be now. Yes, we're good. We got it. Absolutely fantastic. So let's talk about the old waiver wire. Who has been added? And you know that we do this. We've got a relatively stable pattern in doing this where we look at some different timeframes on different sites. We've got Basketball Monster, which is a 48-hour period. We've got Yahoo, which is a 24-hour period, and Fantrax, which is a 7-day period. What's 7 days in 24-hour time? 168? Is that correct? 7 to 14. Yeah, I think so. I think that's correct. 168. Anyway, 168-hour period. Who cares? It is a week. So who's been added and does it make sense? The most added player, according to our Basketball Monster metric, is the one and only Shades of Larry Bird legend, Dalton Knecht, which makes sense. He went absolutely crazy yesterday. And we knew this was going to happen. I knew that he was going to be added. We've been talking about him as I'll say a soft ad, a decent enough ad, and then it, of course, blew up yesterday. Knecht is sitting at 92% rostered. I actually end up getting him in a lot of my leagues, and the bids that I put in yesterday, they were probably a little bit too much, to be honest. And I'm not a big Dalton Knecht guy, I'm sure, as you're well aware, and this shooting has zero chance of holding. Zero. Absolutely none. And I hope he could do some more things. But what I am interested in is the baseline minutes, and that's very interesting to me. So I've got him in 1, 2, 3, 4 leagues now. I already had him in 2 leagues, and people asked, hey, did you keep him after you put that $1 bid on him in industry pickup? No, I didn't. I dropped Dalton Knecht after that industry pickup, but I added him about 4 days ago. So I actually did get him to play in that game yesterday, which was a fortunate W. The second most added player is Delano Banton, which is a little chasey. I get doing it. And if Simons actually plays today, if you play the 240 game with the Blazers, it's almost impossible. Like, I don't know where he really fits. Does he get 10 minutes? Does he get 0 minutes? He's been really good, and Chauncey's been preferring Banton over Scoot, but it is tough to try and figure out how all the minutes go with Scoot, with Sharp, with Simons, with Kamara. Avdia, Grant, all the million centers. It's hard to find 20, but I get why people did it. The most added player, and I don't try to double up the name. So Dalton Knecht is the most added player on Yahoo, understandably. But the second one is Mr. Black. I'll say this once. I probably won't repeat it again because people do ask, and that's okay if you're popularly, culturally limited. And that's okay. Not everyone knows everything. That Mr. Black is from The Simpsons, episode Camp Krusty. There you go. Go look it up. Watch it. Just type Mr. Black Simpsons, and then you'll see the reference. Not your fault that you don't know it. All good. All good. Mr. Black. He was a great last game, Anthony Black. Also the game before he had 4-1-1. So, you know. And that's the other thing. People go, man, what are you talking about, Josh? There's definitely four-sided die everywhere. It's all about role-playing and Dungeons and Dragons games. Sorry, I'm not a crippling nerd like you guys, and I don't know anything about that stuff. I'm cool, and I wear sunglasses inside. I smoke cigarettes, and I don't play your stupid nerd games. So I didn't know about it. Sorry. I'm also a way bigger nerd than you are. I just have never played, and I wish I could have gotten into them, but I think there's something about the way that my brain works that I couldn't do it. And that's okay as well. Anyway, four-sided die exist. Thank you to everyone who picked me up on that. And I was there in my head. I know there's like those incredible 26-sided die. Shout out to Categories. But I didn't know there was a 4. It's like a pyramid. There you go. That must roll really, really weirdly. Anyway, as we're saying, we don't know what we're going to get with Mr. Black. Mr. Black. But what I do know is those two most added players on Yahoo are very good schedule options because the Magic have the Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back. They got a 3-game in 4 night. So it's the Dart, Goga Badadze, and it's Anthony Black. Totally okay. If Wendell Carter comes back, I reckon you get nothing from Goga, but that's all right. We find that out, don't we? And then on Fantrax, over the last week, the most added player is Zach Collins. Because Wemby's out, Collins is a great ad. Fine. And the second one is Malik Leaky Beasley. And with Tim Hardaway out, Beasley's been cooking. I don't think you do anything more with Beasley out apart from stream him, even though he was much better than Tim last game. Don't be shocked if you get a percentage reversal between those two in their next one, but that is totally reasonable to have those guys rostered. Who are the most drop players on Basketball Monsters? Musa Diabate, last 2 games have stunk. He will have some better games, absolutely, but just view him as a deeper league guy or a rebound streamer until we get BDNR back. And Mark Williams, if he ever emerges from wherever shadow realm he is in. The 2 most dropped players on Yahoo, one of them is Dario Saric. Yes, people were streaming him in. He got into foul trouble yesterday. Jokic is likely back next game. Absolutely get rid of him. And the second one, Zach Collins. I guess people were just like, well, I'm going to try the 1-game stream here without Victor Wembanyama, and you got 2 out of him. And now they expect Wemby to be back, which is a decent enough expectation. I probably would have just held on to Zach just in case. Because I think what he does is good enough that if Wemby is out again, I'd like to have that. And I don't think we're at that portion of the season, the beginning of week 5, where we need to be making immediate one-day moves to generate each little extra game. That's why I also hate the games played chase all the time. I probably would have held on to Zach, but whatever. That is okay. It also goes to show you. Fantrax, 7-day period, Zach Collins the most added guy. Yahoo, 24-hour period, Zach Collins second most drop guy. Because of the way that everything can change like that, right? And you've got to be on top of it. On Fantrax, the most drop player, easy, Jose Alvarado, DeAnthony Melton, multiple weeks out, and that's cool as well for those guys. Maybe it's not as cool for those guys, but it's cool nonetheless. I want to talk about a must-roster player, and this is how I'm doing the must-roster stuff. I'm looking at the next 2 weeks, and I'm looking at players who aren't sitting at, they're sitting at below, above 70% on our Basketball Monster metric, who I think are going to be top 100 guys. So I think that covers most league formats for the short term, and only one name actually came up who wasn't widely rostered. Sometimes we'll get 4, sometimes we'll get 5, sometimes we'll get 3. The only name that came up to fit those criteria, or that criterion, was there more than one? No, there was more than one. Criteria is Michael Conley. Conley, at 24 minutes, it's that face of that chick drink of the kombucha. But then Mike Conley playing 30 minutes, it's there. Yeah? I'm all for it. 30-minute Conley, we roster him. 24-minute Conley, we leave him for the streets. Easy as that. That is how I view that. So he's the only guy that falls into that, what do you call it? That criteria, there's that word again, for must roster value, production, however you want to phrase that part of it. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about guys that are droppable. We're going to talk about injury replacements, and we're going to talk about maybe some of the questions that you asked regarding the waiver wire as well. But firstly, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. Look at these innovative legends, always bringing something new, and now it is Game Time Picks, the new feature that helps you get tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff. I would have called it the fluff filter, but I'm not in marketing, so I don't know. But it filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste that time searching through thousands of tickets, because that's how many they got. Thousands of them. Thousands of tickets over at Game Time. And that's not the only thing they've got, obviously. You can go in there, look at the ticket and go, I wonder what it would be like if I was able to, what can I see from this particular seat before I buy it? Bang, Game Time sorts you out. Panoramic views from your seat. You go, what would happen in the situation where an event gets cancelled? Do I have protection? Well, you do, because there's event cancellation protection. Game Time, whatever thought you have, Game Time's one step ahead. They're like, I got you. I got you. That should be one of their mottos as well. Probably not. Again, I'm not in marketing, but if you want to get those tickets, you need to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. It sure is game time. All right, let's move into talking about some droppable guys. You want a caveat? I think you get one. You don't have to drop these players. It's just that if they're sitting on your waiver wire, if they're sitting on your roster and you're making decisions, do I want a one-game stream off? Maybe we'll use this as the part to talk about one-game streams. Yes, the Cavs have 1 million players out. Yes, Ty Jerome is streamable. Yes, if you don't get him, go with Craig Porter. There's no Darius Garland. Craig Porter, awesome fantasy player, buried. But it's Milk and it's Craig Porter. They're very, very, very good streams for that one day. Really interesting one-day sort of situations there. But if these sort of players are sitting on your waiver wire and you're having to make that decision, like what do I do? Do I hold this guy? Do I move on? Is it worth it? What we're talking about here is guys that sit there and I don't think it matters. And that's sort of what droppable means. You can move on. You don't have to move on. But if they're on your roster, that's okay. If you lose out, I think you'll be able to cobble together the same value or probably more through streaming, through other options that appear. And the top on that list is Jabari Smith Jr. You know what? Jabari Smith will have good games. He will probably have a streak where we go, yep, let's go back and add him. And that is the nature of fantasy basketball. Is someone will be bad for 4 weeks and you moved on, and then there'll be a period in 2 weeks' time where he goes 20 and 10, 25 and 11, 3 blocks and 17 points, and you go, man, what did I do? Well, then you re-add him, and then he goes back to being nothing, and you move on. But the fact that we've got someone like a Men Thompson and Tari Eason absolutely cooking off the bench limits what Smith's everyday upside is, meaning that you can't rely upon him. His upside isn't high enough to be good enough to just hold through all that, so that means he's droppable. So he's there. I got John Kuminga on that list. Throw Brandon Pajemski on that list. I almost throw Buddy Hield onto that list as well of guys in the Warriors. We just don't have enough minute upside. You're probably going to need 3 injuries because Steve Kerr's going to run Gary Payton and Lindy Waters and Moses Moody and Brandon Pajemski and bloody every dickhead that he can find out there that's going to limit them. Kuminga's getting 20 minutes a night. Now, John's going to think he deserves more than that, and there are going to be people out there that think he deserves more than that, and maybe I do as well. But I also don't think he's anywhere near as good as maybe what some of the old aggregator sites might think. You don't need to roster John Kuminga. There's just not enough there. He needs second usage on the team, 30-plus minutes, and then we're rolling as a 12-team league guy. And guess what? That is just not happening. So, in fact, let's drop a first jack for the day.
Get that garbage out of here.
I've got Grant Williams on this list. Grant Williams is absolutely someone to have right now. Absolutely someone to have right now. But if we're thinking longer term, bigger picture, I'm going to guess that BDNR Nick Richards is back soon. I won't guess that Mark Williams is back because, you know what? That's just a losing proposition. But he will. I guess the guy's alive and some point he'll play basketball. I don't know. But I also don't think we're going to have a scenario where Richards and Williams remain out for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Mark Williams, that is. So Grant Williams is fine. Absolutely, he should be rostered right now. But it's again that decision. Do I make something for today or tomorrow or this week? Or is there something? I'll just keep using Isaiah Hartenstein out there. If Isaiah Hartenstein is on your waiver wire, then yeah, Grant Williams, get him out of here. Who cares? Move on. Grant might be worthwhile now, but he isn't long term. So see ya. I've got Scottie Pippen on this list. Same thing. Definitely do not drop Scottie Pippen right now. You don't have to do it. But again, if something wild appears on the waiver wire, if something crazy, if someone goes, man, I can't do this anymore. I've got to drop Paolo Banchero. You go, okay, Scotty, thank you for your time. I'll see you later. The fact that Scotty's playing 25 minutes a night with Marcus Smart out, with Vince Williams out, with Ja Morant out, with Desmond Bane limited minutes, makes me think that it's very unlikely that he's going to have good minutes enough to make sense when those players return. Now, I don't know when those players return. Ja's telling us he's back soon. Oh, cool. That means nothing, my guy. We'll see when you're actually back. But Pippen doesn't have that runway unless players are injured. And even when they're injured, he's getting 25 a night, which isn't a huge amount. So sometimes it's the old STPLTG. You don't know what that means? Short-term pain, long-term gain. And sometimes you do need to do that. And again, as we move closer to fantasy playoffs, our ratio on that changes. I got Denny Avdia on there. He had a pretty good game last time out. But again, the output is not consistent enough. And Simons, maybe not Ayton, but Simons is coming back and it's going to further squeeze what Avdia does. There's not enough upside. Daily stream, sure. Short-term value at times, absolutely, no problem. Absolute must, get out of here. The last one is Ochai Agbaji on this list because Scotty Barnes is coming back. He might be back for the next game. Not sure. You might still get some okay games out of Agbaji, but you also might not. And again, it's one of those players that he doesn't have a locked-in starting position. He won't start. It's going to be Dick Barrett Barnes as the 2-3-4 with Mitchell at the 1. I guess they could play Barnes at the 1, but they don't really like doing that. Agbaji will get his 25 minutes, but Agbaji needs 33 minutes to be a 12-team league player. So if you wanted to get out ahead of it, because there's somebody else you want, I don't think that holding on to Agbaji is a must sort of situation. All right, let's move on to... That's not exactly what I wanted. What is that? Oh no, that is what I wanted. Is it? No, it's not. All right, after a delay that you guys didn't see, let's move into the next part, which we're talking about players who are inside the top 100 over the last week, who, I think deserve a little bit of our attention. And number one on that list somehow is Ben Simmons. Yes, Ben Simmons is in the top 100 per game over the last week. Do you need to add Ben Simmons? I wouldn't go that far. But what he's doing at the moment is actually really good, and it's useful enough for some of you. So, he's available in lots of spots. It's probably more category leagues than points leagues because he's just not getting bulk stats and he's playing 24, 25 a night. That's probably not enough. Category leagues, for some of you, it won't do a thing. But the rebounds, the assists, some steals. I think he had 10 points last game. Occasional block. That's pretty useful. He's actually not taking any free throws either, so he's not actually really hurting you there. So I don't mind an ad of Simmons, understanding that if you want to jack him, who cares? You move on after that. Toumani Camara, another guy that I am waiting for a drop-off, but every time something seems to happen and he comes back down, it's a little bit like old mate Santi Aldama, who I don't even know that I'm going to cover on this, but Santi Aldama with players hurt is worth re-grabbing, is that someone goes out and Camara steps back up. It was Sharp, and then Sharp came back, and then Simons got sick. It's like, okay, what do we do now? Well, Camara still maintaining that value. Yeah, it's a lot of it built into the steals, and he needs to play probably 33 a night to be useful. And if he's getting 28, then I don't really think he is. But Simons is back out. Whether he comes back or not today, I don't know. But Kamara's there. He's worth looking at. By the way, also, Shaedon Sharp available in 50% of Yahoo leagues. And I'm now convinced that 55% of Yahoo leagues are dead. Maybe 60. I feel like we're at that stage. Kevin Love has been in the top 100. And that is probably all I'll say about Kevin Love unless you're in a 18-team league. Maybe 16. I don't think we need to care about it otherwise. Dorian Finney-Smith has been, I feel like, on this list many times. He's not exciting at all. I don't think he's a must-roster player realistically as a long-term hold. But he's doing enough. And with Claxton still out, you pay a little bit of attention to Finney-Smith because I do like what he's bringing. The other one there for deeper formats would be Trendon Watford, who played really well and closed the game over Ben Simmons last time out. A little bit harder to judge that one because Cam Thomas was out and we got a nice Jalen Wilson game, but it doesn't appear like Thomas is a long-term thing. The next one is Cam Payne, who is a top 100 player over the last week. Because Juice McBride is out, there's been some blowouts, but he's getting 6-7 assists. If he plays 21, 22 minutes, he's at least in that mix where you go, who do I get assists from? Well, it's Cam Payne. It's another one of those great reminders where there was a lot of fluffing about Tyler Kolek, a second-round rookie, and people thought Tom Thibodeau's going to play him. He's way better than Cam Payne. No. He probably will end up better than Cam Payne. Not necessarily. He might not. But also, that sort of stuff just usually doesn't happen, especially under Tom Thibodeau. So, yeah, Cam Payne is doing enough. It will probably drop a little bit when Juice McBride returns, but for someone that you wouldn't even think, and honestly, he's one of those players, one of those sort of NPCs this season, Cam Payne, where I go, oh yeah, he plays for the Knicks. Because he played for the Bucks last season that he was on the Sixers, and I go, where does this dickhead even play anymore? Knicks. He plays for the Knicks. That's where we're at. The other one on that list, I think, is probably a little bit more important, and that is Jake LaRavia, who, with Marcus Smart still being doubtful, he's not playing today, I don't think. He's ill, he might be doubtful, but Vince Williams is out and sprained his ankle. LaRavia will have these bad 28% shooting nights, but he gets rebounds, he's like almost a Ben Simmons with more scoring upside. Not as many assists, obviously, but rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. At the moment, while Smart and LaRavia and Morant and Edey, although Edey doesn't impact him that much, LaRavia is there. He's worth looking at. And the other guy to consider is, like I said, Santi Aldama, who, when players are back, we don't care. And he probably end up getting a start here with Vince out and Smart out. They might start him. I don't know. By the way, shout out to the Grizzlies and NBA.com. One of the funniest things you will ever find on NBA.com is, if you continue to look at it, is the rookie ladder. Right? The names that they put on there are crazy. Who's leading Rookie of the Year production? At the moment, it's Jared McCain at number 1. They immediately put him there. Number 2 is Jalen Wells. I mean, sure. And, okay. Number 2 is Jalen Wells. And number 3 is Dalton Knecht. The way that list runs is absolutely crazy. It's so crazy the way that they put those. It's like when Jaime Jaquez, I think, was ahead of Wemby last season. The rookie ladder. It's one of the funniest things you will read at any point. Shout out to Hoops Hype's global rating as well, if you want another laugh about stuff that just makes no sense. Let's talk about some guys who might get some value here. Oh, actually, yeah. No, we're actually going to come back and talk about that. Some guys who might just jump in with some injury replacement value. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by a new sponsor, and that is Chime. There's going to be a point in your life, you may have hit it, maybe you haven't, maybe you haven't got there yet, but you need to realize you need to start making serious money moves. You need to control your finances. You need to check out what you're doing. You need to make an investment. Are you buying a house? Is it a big purchase? Is it paying off debts? Whatever it is. There's always going to be that time where you need to take it seriously. You can take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft, terrible phrase, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. You can check that out at chime.com/NBA. It helps you make that progress with that fee-free overdraft of up to $200, and that next deposit gets applied to your balances over 50,000 fee-free ATMs that you can use. You've got no monthly fees, you've got no maintenance fees as well, and Chime so far has spotted members over $30 billion. Friends give friends a boost. You set up your direct deposit in your Chime account, and after qualifying direct deposit of $200 plus, Chime will notify you to enroll in Spot Me. With an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to $200 when you exceed your balance. Your next direct deposit is applied to your next negative balance, and Chime never charges fees or interest for using Spot Me. Make your full finances a little greener by working towards your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. That is chime.com/NBA. Chime, it feels like progress, or progress, depending on how you want to say it. Now, let's get into some injury replacement options across the fantasy basketball waiver wire. And I'm going to start back in Memphis here. Brandon Clarke replacing Zach Edey. We thought maybe there was a chance for Jay Huff. He actually did less in those minutes when Edey wasn't there. Huff is a guy that had those 2 insane performances. He was shooting the absolute lights out from 3, and now he's settled back in. I still think Jay Huff's a pretty good player, and I don't mind him as a stream option, but if Clark's getting 24 and Huff's getting 12, well, I'd probably lean towards Clarke. And the other thing they will do is play more Jaren at center and Santi Aldama at the 4. So, yeah, Clarke is there. Aldama's in that list as well as someone that we can have a look at as some short-term stream options for the Grizzlies as they continue to be banged up like nobody's business. With Kevin Durant out in Phoenix and Bradley Beal dealing with a calf injury, Grayson Allen is the preferred option for me. I don't think there is a long-term stuff there in Grayson. Royce O'Neal would have been my guy and was my guy, but he has been absolutely dreadful. His minutes have come back somehow. Allen's are up. Go with Allen. I don't think it's a long-term thing, but it's there. And then if you want something even deeper, now the Suns have got a terrible schedule. They finished on Wednesday. They're done. Their week is over. So that's, I guess, somewhat of a concern about adding these players, but Oso Ighodaro would be the other one if you get this before Wednesday's games. And Nurkic is out. Then you can look at Plumlee. As long as Emmanuel quickly remains out, Davion Mitchell is a stream. Now, is he good? No. Can he get you 6 assists and 2 steals? Maybe. That's what he brings. And occasionally you'll get a 10-point game. You might get a 0-point game. You might get a 15-point game. You might hit 2 threes. You might get nothing. But it's about getting some assists and steals in. And Davion's got the big minute opportunity to be able to do that for as long as Emmanuel quickly is out. Now, here's where we get really spicy. those of you in the old double onyx, platinum, diamond, and titanium leagues, it's time for your move. Elfrid Payton was signed by the New Orleans Pelicans. Do I think there's anything long-term here at all? Not really. Not at all. But there's no Jordan Hawkins, Jose Alvarado, DeJounte Murray, or CJ McCollum. BJ Boston's still going to remain an option. Elfrid Payton might come out and give us a Davion Mitchell, 0 points and 6 assists and 2 steals. He might hang around as a third-string point guard. He might. But for the short term, for those of you in those leagues, then Elfrid Payton is going to be worth at least a short-term grab, because the other thing that happened now, I haven't even mentioned, Brandon Ingram's hurt. Of course he is. Of course he is. So, yeah, there's nobody there. It's Robinson Earl. It's Trey Murphy sitting out today. There's Jamal Cain. There's Jalen Noel. There's BJ Boston. And if Elfrid Payton's available today, I don't mind it. Kaysen Wallace is interesting. Isaiah Joe is out. But Hartenstein is returning, but as at least a short-term guy, he's someone to pay a little bit of attention to, Kaysen, with the absence, if Joe's absence sticks, and the big men. Hartenstein returning will have a negative impact on Wallace, because they know they've just been playing guards at center anyway. So Hartenstein coming back and quickly pushing to 30 minutes will mean that a lot of these guards with their value not right there, and Wallace has got it in the short term. The other one there is Kyle Filipowski. I don't know whether Filipowski's numbers or minutes will sustain when Walker Kessler returns. Will it be him or John Collins that moves to the bench? That's a question that only Will Hardy's proctologist knows. Because if you didn't get the joke, let me explain it. Some of the rotation decisions get pulled out of his ass, and that's okay. We can pull stuff out of our ass. I'm not here to judge. If Filipowski can maintain 27 minutes a night, because I feel like he's very clearly a better option than Cody Williams for fantasy and real life. Williams is just absolutely non-existent. Not ruling out him being a good player, but at the moment, completely lost. If Filipowski's a 27-minute a night player, he might be a 7-7-5 guy with a steal, the block and a half on 58%. Like, that's really, really good. And I think he's going to get better and better. And I love Filipowski from a dynasty perspective as well. I hope no one hears this incorrectly. No, I'm not trying to take him away from you. I do love what he's able to do. I think there's really good stat numbers there. I can't remember exactly where I had him in Dynasty. I know I didn't have him 32nd, which is where I went in the draft. I'm pretty sure I had him top 15. And that's, I think, where we can hold with him. But there is a little bit of short term there with him if Walker Kessler remains out. And even if Kessler comes back, if they keep starting Filipowski, I'll be very interested in seeing where that goes. Some other names that I think are worth a discussion here. We do have DeAndre Hunter, whose last game was a DeAndre Hunter. It was 24-2. That's what he does. High usage, high efficiency is when he looks good. And then if he shoots 41%, you'll get 16 points and still nothing else. I don't mind an ad of him. I honestly just don't love it, though. I don't think there's huge amount of value in him. I think he's going to be one of those players that for now it looks great. And then we'll be looking in the middle of December going, what is this? What's he doing? Why is he playing? He's hurt again. Right? So sure, whatever. I don't think it's a one that matters that much. I've got Milk on this list because there is injuries in Cleveland. Everyone's out. Okoro and Merrill and Wade and Strus and Garland. So Milk is going to play big minutes and he's shooting unbelievably well, Ty Jerome. So for the short term, absolutely. And then you can just see where it goes. Long term, no way. But for now, yeah. Another name that needs mentioning is Malcolm Brogdon. I know a lot of people added him when he returned. I wouldn't have bothered, and I still wouldn't bother, and I would jack him right now. He doesn't look very good. He will be better than this, I'm sure, but there's no priority for them to give big minutes. Now, Bob Carrington still played good minutes last game, a lot of that in garbage time, but let's also be fair. The Wizards are going to have a lot of garbage time, and if they're going to play Bub through garbage time, that is great. I hope that they don't bench Bub so they can start Brogdon. That would be insanity, and I'll rip him if they do. I would not bother with Brogdon at this point. Jarris Walker, while Nembhard and Neesmith are out, even though Ben Shepherd did get upgraded to questionable, which is a little surprising, but Walker and TJ McConnell are guys who've been having some solid numbers. I probably, if Shepherd plays, I probably lean a little bit more towards Walker because he can play more at the bigger man positions. He can play more at the 3 versus TJ playing only at the 1, and that leads to weirdness with him and Halliburton together. But Walker's on that list as well. I'm very surprised that people didn't rush and add Keon Ellis, which I think is smart because the Kings had a big gap between when they were playing, and we know he wasn't going to do that. And it's likely that DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis are back for their next game. But I just thought more people would have added Keon Ellis. So he's a name that's here that the scoring and threes, forget that. That's nonsense. Doesn't happen. It's about steals and blocks for him. But can he maintain it? And Michael Brown, the hot hand legend, Michael Brown, because he was hot last game, he is going to get every opportunity, starting now, Keon Ellis, to carve out a role. Now, when he misses some shots, and then when Malik Monk is back, and then DeRozan and Sabonis before that, then he'll lose out. But for the short term, if you wanted to take a look and see where it goes, understanding that where the Kings' schedule lies, which again is not, I don't think they play until Friday now, there's a little bit in that. And then, just again, so you don't feel left out, your double Onyx, Platinum, Diamond, Titanium leagues, Norman Powell's got a hamstring injury. I don't know how long he's going to be out. I would look at Amir Coffey. First of all, I'll look at Chris Dunn. Then I would look at Kevin Porter, and then Amir Coffey. I think they're all going to get boosts. But if you want to go deeper for the competitive leagues, I can't swim in those waters. I'll get eaten alive. Jordan Miller is the guy to have a look at there. He might play 0 minutes, but I'm convinced he's 0% rostered. And I actually think he's a very interesting player. And I wish they would sort of move on from a Kevin Porter. I wish they would move on from an Amir Coffey and just sort of let Miller cook. He's a name to watch. And if he gets, I don't think he will start. I think it'll be Amir Coffey. But if we hear Jordan Miller is starting in 14-teamers, I would probably add. He's just a name that, again, is just out there in the abyss. And you might just pay just a smidgen of attention to. And if you could pay a smidgen of attention to me, I'd love that. And the way you do that is by hitting the thumb on this video and double banging. I want to bring more positivity to the world. I want to be... I think there's just sometimes a lack of positivity in the world. So I'm going to say this, and I say this with complete honesty and genuineness. I hope you're having a great day, and remind yourself that you did something really good today. Be proud of something that you did today. Be happy with what you did. You did something good. It might have been something small. It might have been something big. You did something good. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of your fantasy teams. Be proud of everything that you do. Because we all need that. We all need to know that we have done something good. Unless you're from Canada, and then I can't really help you. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.